At exactly 6:30 that evening, the shelter lights dimmed for the night, and that was the moment the old black cat finally seemed to understand his person was not coming back for him. I had not gone there looking for a cat. Honestly, I had only stopped by to donate a few old blankets, unopened bags of food, and some extra cleaning supplies my neighbor no longer needed. I planned to stay maybe 10 minutes at most. At 53 years old, my life had become painfully predictable. I lived alone in a small apartment on the edge of town. Most evenings were the same. Microwave dinners, television humming quietly in the background, falling asleep in my recliner with reading glasses still resting on my chest. For years, I told myself I liked the quiet. But quiet and lonely start sounding very similar after enough time passes. I signed the donation form at the front desk and was already turning to leave when I noticed him. He was curled inside the very last enclosure near the back wall, far away from the younger cats pressing excitedly against the glass for attention. This cat barely moved. He was an older black cat with a graying muzzle, tired golden eyes, and dull fur that looked rough from weeks without proper care. One ear tipped slightly sideways, giving him a permanently worried expression. His kennel card simply read, Benny, Senior Cat. That was it. No colorful notes, no great lap cat, no loves toys. Just Senior Cat. A shelter employee noticed me staring at him. He's been here 5 weeks, she said quietly. Something in her voice told me there was more. I asked what happened. The woman sighed softly before answering. His owner went into assisted living after a bad fall. The family promised they'd come back for him once everything settled down. She paused for a second. They stopped answering our calls 2 weeks ago. I looked back at Benny. The younger cats meowed and pawed at the glass whenever people walked by. But Benny did none of that. He simply laid there, with his head resting on his paws, staring toward the front entrance, like he had memorized the sound of one specific set of footsteps and was still waiting to hear them again. Then the overhead lights dimmed softly for the evening, and Benny slowly lifted his head toward the door one more time. Not excited, not hopeful anymore, just checking. That tiny movement hit me harder than I expected. I asked if I could meet him. The shelter worker opened the enclosure carefully, warning me that Benny had become withdrawn lately. She said he barely interacted with anyone anymore. But the moment the door opened, Benny stood slowly and walked straight toward me. No hesitation, no meowing. He pressed the side of his face gently against my chest, like he was too emotionally exhausted to keep pretending he was okay. And what shocked me most was how light he felt when I picked him up. Older cats always seem heavier beneath their fur. When I held him against me, I realized how much weight he had lost. He let out one long, shaky sigh against my jacket, the kind of sigh that sounded less like comfort and more like a soul finally giving up on waiting. That was the exact moment I knew I was not leaving without him. The shelter staff tried not to look too hopeful while I filled out the paperwork, but I caught one volunteer wiping tears when Benny quietly rubbed against my leg the entire time. Apparently, several people had overlooked him already because of his age. Too old, too quiet, too expensive, too much future heartbreak. But sitting there beside him, all I could think was how cruel it felt that animals spend their entire lives loving people faithfully, only to become invisible once their faces turn gray. The drive home felt strangely emotional for someone I had only met an hour earlier. Benny sat quietly inside the carrier, occasionally lifting his head whenever I spoke. So I kept talking. I told him about my apartment, about how I burned grilled cheese sandwiches constantly because I forgot them on the stove,
about how the place probably smelled too much like coffee. At one point, I laughed nervously and apologized in advance for how quiet life with me might be. Benny just listened silently.
When we arrived home, he stepped out cautiously. Every movement was slow and careful. He wandered through the apartment, sniffing furniture, corners, rugs, and walls, as if trying to understand whether this place was temporary too. Then he disappeared behind the couch. For several hours, I barely heard him move. I started second-guessing myself almost immediately. Maybe he missed his old owner too much. Maybe this apartment would never feel like home. Maybe I was simply another stop between losses. Sometime after 2 in the morning, I woke up feeling something beside the bed. I opened my eyes to find Benny sitting quietly in the dark. He was not crying, not pacing, just sitting there, watching me carefully, making sure I was still there. Something about that nearly shattered me. I leaned over the edge of the mattress and whispered softly, "Hey, buddy, I'm not going anywhere." For a second, he simply stared at me.
Then, very slowly, this old black cat climbed onto the bed and curled himself carefully against my chest. The moment he settled down, he let out another deep sigh. But this one sounded different, safer. Like something inside him had finally unclenched. And lying there in the dark with this old cat pressed against me, I cried harder than I had in years. Not because I rescued him, because a soul that had every reason to stop trusting people had decided to trust me anyway. Life changed after that. Benny now sleeps sprawled across my living room rug like he owns the apartment. He follows me quietly from room to room, never too far away. Every evening around 6:30, when the apartment lights dim automatically, he still looks toward the front door for a second. But now, instead of waiting sadly, he jumps beside my chair and curls up near my feet, as if he finally understands. Someone did come back for him after all. People tell me all the time how lucky Benny was that I brought him home. Maybe that's true.
But the real truth is that old cat rescued something inside me, too. The part that forgot what it felt like to matter to someone, to be greeted at the door, to hear soft paws crossing the floor toward you, to come home and realize another heart feels safer simply because you exist. Older animals do not love halfway. They love with everything they have left. And sometimes, the ones abandoned at the end of their story become the very reason someone else's life starts feeling full again.